Alrighty. Start in 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty, so this is Magic Knight Rayearth for the Sega Saturn. It was originally an anime and manga series by Clamp that came out in the mid-90s. And then Sega developed and published a game for it as part of like one of their early Sega Saturn titles. It's a Legend of Zelda clone, but a much more linear and simplistic game. But it has its own charm. It basically loosely follows the anime and manga of the series. So we'll be introducing the three characters: Hikaru, Umi, and Fu. Hikaru is the redhead, Umi's the blue-haired girl, and Fu is the blonde.
Flash, what are you doing here?
And basically, we're at Tokyo Tower.
This cute little mud is my very
And
dog.
for whatever reason, her dog has come up here to cause a stir.
Flash,
So basically, chasing around the dog, and then they'll all three come together and then be transported to a new world
what a darling
where
little puppy.
the story will
I'm
start
so
unfolding.
sorry. I don't know what's gotten into him.
And there's quite a bit of anime cutscenes in this game. We skipped them for the speed run, but there is a donations bid war to play them as it goes on. And this game was localized by Working Designs, who is well known for the Lunar series and the Growlancer series of localizations. They've also done a lot of other weird games.
From beyond the barrier.
This was the very last game released in the US on the Sega Saturn. It took Working Designs 3 years to localize because they had to rebuild quite a bit of the source code because it was lost after the game was published in Japan.
Their power is too limited.
So this took up almost the entirety of their localization power for the Sega Saturn.
To minimize any chance for surprises.
As you wish.
And so now we introduce Zegat and Innova, who are the main antagonists of the game. Basically, Zegat has kidnapped the princess that holds the world of Sephiroth in balance, which we'll get into shortly. There's some voice acting in this game, can't skip it. And so now we land in this new mystical world of Sephiroth.
Oh, what kind of nightmare is this? That hurt. Since we're all conscious of what's happening, I think we can rule out dreaming.
It was a figure of speech. But whatever. We have to find out what happened. What is this strange place?
It appears we've been blown out of our world and into another. One thing's for certain. This isn't Tokyo. As we were falling, I saw a floating mountain.
So the voice
and a
acting in this
volcano
game
the
is
distance.
pretty decent
I
for
noticed that too.
a 90s
Oh,
localization.
I might be hallucinating.
Working Designs was one of the few companies
Look,
that took
I'm
it
not in the mood
seriously.
to compare trips.
It took
We've
a
got to
localizing
find a
game
way out of
seriously.
here.
Well, why don't we introduce ourselves first?
What?
And Clamp is
Maybe
very
this is
distinctive in the
trying
Clamp style. They're known for
But we can at
large
least be
heads,
civil.
big eyes, and very
Introductions
thin
seem like a
bodies,
natural starting point.
and
Then
going
we
for
can
a
put
very
our heads
cute and pretty
together
look.
Get out of here. Count me in.
Then I guess I have no choice.
There's this
Count me
game
in too.
is fairly rare. There's about 10,000 copies made for the Sega Saturn. So and Sega Saturn games tend to fetch a higher price.
What?
The Japanese version of the
You're
game,
the same
it's an
age as
easier
me.
run. Basically,
You
Working
look like you're
Designs
still
has a
in
tendency to
elementary
make their
school.
games harder when they localize it.
Must confess
So
that I
bosses
have
in
the
this
very
game
same
do more
impression of
damage.
you.
Some enemies do more damage in the US
Oh,
release.
honestly.
But it's a much faster
I'm
game
quite
because in the Japanese
obviously
version,
substantially more mature than you.
99% of the story dialogue is voice acted, so you can't skip any of it. And you can't skip the cutscenes in the Japanese version, so it adds about 90 minutes of gameplay.
What do you mean?
Whereas the US
children?
version,
You're
there's a
more
lot less
mature than
voice
I am,
acting
buddy.
that's seen in the
I
run,
lived on this world for
but there's about the same overall.
745 years.
And
What?
the cutscenes are skippable.
Who are you?
My name is Clef.
And so now we're
I'm the
introduced to
High
Clef.
Priest of Sephiroth, and
He
your
was
guide in this
basically
realm.
a protector of the princess who
Until
was
you reach the
kidnapped.
end of your journey together, you cannot return home.
And so there'll be like little intermittent cutscenes that show basically as a transition to Zagat's palace. So basically for about the first 20 minutes of the game, it's mostly cutscenes, and then after that we get into gameplay. It's basically setting up the story of the world and your objective.
Master.
And so later on in the game, scenes take place in Zagat's palace. Is the only time where we'll be seeing voice acting, except for when we get to there at the end of the game.
Her intent must be to revive the ancient machines.
And so now we're being introduced to Zagat's minions, basically, but we don't get to see them yet.
The ones Emerald has summoned
The
from
voice
beyond the
acting
barrier are merely
is
children.
internal working design voice actors.
Now that Clef has guided
Basically,
them,
working designs. They hire their own voice actors and work in house.
That meddlesome priest is the fly in our ointment.
The question
And
is,
from what I understand, it's a lot better than that they had for the actual anime. So, like, a lot of the voice actors you'll see named if you look up the game have only done this game, or maybe other working designs games as well. I believe a couple of them have worked in other working designs games.
This world is known as Sephiroth. You have been summoned by Princess Emerald to fulfill your destiny and save us.
So now Clef is going to show off his mighty power.
Summon
Show what a powerful magician he is. Just take out a giant monster with a simple spell.
When Emerald was free, this land knew nothing of danger and suffering.
But our enemy Zagat is so powerful that no one rivals him except for these three girls. But right now they don't have that power. They have to nurture the magic within them until they're strong enough to defeat Zagat.
Have consumed our world with fear.
All of this came about simply because a princess was taken from you?
Yes, Emerald was the cornerstone of all Sephiroth. She alone held the power to keep it in balance.
And basically, the only one that was more powerful than Zagat was Princess Emerald. She basically kept peace in the world just through her own thoughts. She just had that kind of power, but it came at the cost of her not being able to live her own life, basically.
With her prayers.
But then someone stole her away?
But now that the princess is gone, monsters have come into Sephiroth and chaos has happened.
Has turned this black deed. His lust for power has pushed him to bind the princess and hold her in darkness.
It all just sounds so very barbaric. How can it be true?
And besides, what relevance does this have to us? We're not of this world.
Our best soldiers, knights,
And then basically the girls, they cannot return home until Zagat is defeated. They're bound to this world until their mission is complete.
That settles it. We will become these magic knights and save Emerald for you.
Hey, hold on a minute. What makes you think you can speak for the rest of us, princess?
It is by Emerald's wish that you have been called to this land. Only by claiming your destiny as magic knights can her wish be fulfilled. And only when that happens will the way home reopen to you.
So in a nutshell, we have no choice. To get home, we must save Sephiroth.
Your destiny is to become magic knights and revive the machines.
Machines?
Can you wield? Then show me your skills.
So that's
right
basically
now.
the only point in the game where you're asked a question when you give it a yes or no answer. It doesn't.
I had hoped that you would have at least
It doesn't matter what your
magic
answer is,
ability.
but it's faster to say yes than it is to say no,
Magic
because
transmission now.
if you want to say no, you have to wait for him talking to fully complete, and then the dialogue after that is slightly longer too.
What a rush! I've never felt anything like that. What was it?
I tried to give you some of my magic, but it seems that instead, magic has chosen you. Hikaru, close your eyes and feel the power. Can you sense it? The strength swelling within your very soul.
I can feel it. My heart seems ablaze with a sense of purpose.
That's right. You experience
So now the
the
girls
wellspring
have
of
been
your
given the
magic.
power of magic for use in this world, but when you start out,
What's that?
they don't have any
It
magic to
appears
speak
that
of.
Zagat's forces have caught up with us.
And they realize their first spell through upcoming cutscenes.
Get on, quickly!
But what are you gonna do?
I shall stop them from
Hikaru
following you.
harnesses the power of fire, Umi harnesses the power of water, and Fu has the power of wind.
Look for the machines. Volcano, sea,
And each three
sky.
character plays
Machines are there.
basically the same in terms of movement, but they have different forms of attacking.
Don't be a fool.
Hikaru has a wide, short attack. Umi has a long, piercing attack that does the most damage. And Fu uses a bow. She does the least amount of damage, but she can charge her attack to do homing arrows, which we use in a couple of places.
It's been far too long, Clef.
But more often than not, we'll be using Umi for physical damage, and we'll be relying on magic to do most of our damage during boss fights.
And yet
Magic in
I
this game
remain
is very, very
grateful to
powerful.
you, dear Clef. With the magic you taught me to master, I can now do things like this.
So now enter Alcyone,
I
Zagat's
would expect
first
no less
minion.
a fight from the best magician in Sephiroth.
I taught you the secrets of my magic to protect.
And we don't really fight her for a while, despite seeing her early on in the game. There are some cutscenes where there are duels with her, but we don't actually fight her
The
until
Clef I still
about
remember
an hour and a half
vividly.
into the run.
Pure to the last. But how will she defeat me if I taught her, you ask? Simple. I just call on Zagat. Zagat! Power up now!
So our man
As you
Clef,
wish,
after
Alcyone.
introducing us to the world and telling us what's wrong and what we have to do, he's now going to get turned to stone and not be able to do anything for us for the rest of the run.
Sniveling Magic Knight wannabes are as good as mine now.
But he can still communicate to us through telepathy, so he'll guide us, but he won't be able to actually help
The
us.
machines will remain sealed forever. I pray they are strong enough, for soon this stone will overtake me. And the real enemy is much stronger than Alcyone.
So in this upcoming cutscene, we'll be learning Hikaru's first spell, which is basically just a flame attack. It just straightforward flame attack, but we won't be able to use her magic until we get to our first boss encounter,
Of course he's all
because we'll
right.
be landing in an area called the Forest of Silence, which does not allow you to cast any magic.
What have we here? Oh my, it's a gang of
But at the end of the Forest of Silence, we'll get the other two girls' first spell. Umi's will be a water attack very similar to Hikaru's, and Fu will get a healing spell, since she's the supportive character. And then each character will learn 2 extra spells throughout the course of the game, and then there are also 3 world abilities we learn. We'll learn how to swim, so we can cross water, and then we'll also learn how to bash through brittle walls when we're running. And the third ability we'll learn is called the Instant Dash, which lets us run on command instead of having to build up speed.
He's far too stubborn to fall to someone as lame as this.
Ah, such brave words in the face of impending doom.
So once we start getting an actual movement,
Don't delude yourself.
the movement's
Your
very
guardian
is very solid, but it's a little bit of there's like a little bit of slipperiness to it.
I won't believe it.
No way! How can that be possible?
Don't worry, your pretty
And
little
there's
life
actually,
of
and
his.
basically you have your
His time
basic
has come.
attack. You can hold A to
And
charge
so
it.
has
Then you have a
yours.
jump. Then you have your magic
Ta-ta,
button,
little ones. With
and then you also have a
dies the
button
legend of the
for
Magic Knights.
instant dash when you learn that.
Be
And then you
careful,
also have a
little
button for
one.
switching between
You
magics, and
wouldn't
then you
wanna
can use the
fall
L and
off
R
the
triggers
before I
to switch
killed
between
you.
the characters. And this game also has a fast travel feature, which we'll be using near the end. For the most part, it's not really useful because it's a very linear game, so you're only going one way. But there are points where we will have to backtrack for story-related tasks. And having fast travel makes it much quicker than going from zone to zone, because each load is about 20 to 30 seconds, since the Sega Saturn has a fairly slow disk drive.
have been the magic Clef was talking about. Magic? Yes. Yes! That was my magic!
So now Hikaru has realized of her
What are we
magic
gonna do
power.
now? He's been immobilized.
I won't believe it until I see it myself.
And now they're discussing
We
what to
must
do
go
next.
back.
Isn't that rather dangerous?
We can't leave him back
So
there
we're
if
at the
he's in
end
trouble.
of
What
most
kind
of the talking
person would suggest
cutscenes
that?
for the intro. There's one more
Please,
left,
try to
and that's
stay
the
calm.
tutorial. There's 4
Raised
tutorials
voices
that,
won't solve our
that go through this
problem.
game that are voiced.
Hikaru, if we go back and find
And
who
we'll
is
be coming up to
Stone,
one
we
that tell
don't
you
have
about
the
saving
means
the
to
game.
reverse the spell. Besides, don't you remember
And then
that
3
Cliff
more
told
for
us
the
to
3
save
abilities we
Shentok
learned.
at all costs?
That's right. Going back now would play right into the hands of those wishing to stop us. To
And
save
then it'll be
Sephiroth,
silent
we
in
must
cutscenes for
follow
a while where I
Clef's
can just match through the
instructions
text.
and move forward at any cost.
I know. You're right. We have to press on. If I remember right, Clef's instructions were that we should head east. Yes, I'm sure of it now. He said to head east in the Forest of Silence to meet
Actually, I lied.
Prisia.
There's one more when you get to the door.
Wait a minute. I wonder if this
With
could be
Dora
the Forest of
Precia's manor.
Silence.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's get moving.
So now we finally have movement, and when we move in the one direction for a period of time, we'll get into a running speed where your movement becomes a little bit slipperier, but you can move much faster. And we try to have that as much as possible.
Hello? Anybody home? It seems as if no one is at home right now.
Perhaps this isn't even Precia's house.
Did you see that? The door just opened. What kind of person leaves their home unlocked? It's not safe.
Well, let's not waste time just talking about it.
So while there's a
You
lot
mean
less
go into
spoken
the
dialogue for the
house?
story
Isn't
in
that
the
bad
English version,
manners?
Okay.
they did add a lot of
fine.
voice acting for
You
the
stay out
diary
here
that you
with
don't
your
see during the
manners and
run.
monsters,
Basically,
and we'll go
each
in.
character keeps a journal of their adventure told in their own perspective, and you can listen to them. You can listen to the voice actors do talking for it, which is not included in the Japanese version. And if you're familiar with working designs games, if you basically, there's rainbow amulets in this game you can collect that unlock extra items, and if you collect every single rainbow amulet, you can unlock the outtakes, which is the voice actors screwing up on their dialogue, and it's pretty funny. So now we enter Prisia and Makona. Now Makona is like a Pokemon kind of thing where it only says poo. So now Prisia realizes we're not here to steal anything. She's going to introduce herself and help us out. She's going to give us some basic weapons to help us get our real weapons. And when we get our real weapons, the game gets a lot easier. It's basically with the basic weapons, you can't do a charge attack and your damage is relatively weak. But as you go through the game, your weapons get stronger and your charge attacks deal more and you get more health and more mana. And so basically each character gets a weapon that's suited to their skills. Basically, Hikaru does kendo, Umi's a fencer, and Fu practices archery. So they each get weapons that reflect that. And it helps differentiate their attacks. And then Makona will join us, which will act as our ability to save. And for some other stuff later.
Clef?
And Precia's
And we'll get into Makona's
number
role
one.
near the end of the game when
You have accomplished
it
the
becomes
first objective of your
when it
journey.
actually becomes
Makona is
relevant.
in your party.
It is foretold that Makona will be no end of help to the Magic Knights.
You should already know to press start in order to access the command menu.
So right here we have the mysterious Sephiroth lecture, where they tell you about the game and
change various settings.
and things you can do.
The most important command to remember is illustrated diary writing.
And this is the only one that just tells you about how to play the game in general.
Adventures.
And then we'll get 3 more that are specific to the abilities we learn at that time.
Session and return to the game. Have fun.
See you later, kids.
And each one kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit, talking to the player rather than keeping it in game. Alright, now that we're back outside Priest's Manor, the place has changed a little bit. Instead of being able to go south to where we were when we first entered, we now go west to enter the actual Forest of Silence. Which is a bit of a maze in itself. Basically, if you have to follow a specific path, otherwise you'll just be going around in circles. Because whenever you go the wrong way, you just go back to where you were before. So it's kind of like an endless maze if you don't know where you're going. But it's fairly easy to navigate. So we're going to start by first getting our running. And then we're just going to run past everything as much as we can. Oof. So that was a little bit of bad luck on my part. So now here we're at the first part where we need to take the left path, because even though the right path looks open, if we took that, it would show up as a dead end. So now we're introduced to our first friendly character. He doesn't really do anything. He has a couple of story elements. His name is Fario, and he's going to offer his services to us, but we're not going to take it. Basically, he wants to help guide us out of the forest, but he himself is lost in here as well. And the girls other than Hikaru is kind of suspicious of him. Because they don't know who he is. They could assume that he's working for Zagat, trying to stop us. But it turns out he's a pretty good guy. So now here we need to go up left, and then we go down left. This is basically, we have to go that way for the arrow to point in the direction we need to go, and then it'll let us go the proper direction. Okay. Oh, I had running speed, but I lost it. Just bad enemy RNG. It doesn't matter, we're going to hit a cutscene anyway in just a second that'll pull it away. And I'm just basically mentioning that he's lost as well. And so we just jump across that. And then we hit a dead end. And so now we're going to take a break, and Mokona's going to be a real good person and give us all some food. So there's an item you can get for getting either 2 or 3 of each rainbow amulet. There's 8 colors total, so you'd need 3 of each color. That gives you the poo shoes, which makes that sound effect every step you make a step, and it's really obnoxious. I remember someone was asking me to do that as a donation incentive at one point, and I did not want to, just because you can get it fairly early, and you'd be hearing it for the rest of the run. And I don't think that'd be very pleasant. But there is currently a donation bid war going on for cutscenes. I believe if you donate, if it hits $5, that I'll play any cutscenes instead of skipping them until that gets beaten. Although who wouldn't want cutscenes? So now Alcyone has been waiting for us at the end of the forest, and ambushed Fario and took him down. And so this is the scene where the other 2 girls learn their magic out of necessity. So Mokona acts as a link between us and Clef, who's currently as Stone, and mentions to Hikaru or Umi that she has the power of water within her. And now Alcyon is defeated for now. And now Fu will realize the power of healing that she has. Her magic is supportive. She has 2 supportive spells and 1 offensive spell. And her offensive spell is only 2 times in the game that it does the same damage as the other 2 character spells. It'll be for the first real boss fight and a fight much later in the game. Normally, we don't really use her unless we have to. There's one fight where she's absolutely required because the fight is ranged and she's the only one that can do consistent damage. And so now Fu is falling for Fario, and now she's all flustered from Fario playing games with her. So now we'll go to our first mini boss fight, I would call it. Basically, we're going to be fighting against the things that each girl cares about most in the world, and it's going to be a shadow of those things. And I would say it's one of the more difficult fights in the game because you can only for the first 2 fights you can only use magic, and your attack range is extremely short. Because basically, you do magic through damage, but if you hit them with your weapon, they drop mana, so that they drop mana balls, so you can refill your mana gauge to do another spell attack. And with the third fight, you attack normally, but you have to heal yourself, because you take damage when you damage your opponent. So here, Hikaru's dog Flash has appeared, but something isn't right, and now Flash is turning into a big evil dog and is going to attack you. And Umi's parents will appear. And attack her as well. So the main difficulty with this fight is that you start out with 2 health instead of 3, which makes it extremely difficult. Because then you can't just be all attack all willy-nilly and be fine. You have to be strategic, because you only get 2 hits before you have to restart the fight. This game is very forgiving if you die. Outside of this fight, if you die, you start at the beginning of the fight you're on, except you get all your health back. And in normal gameplay, you'll start at the beginning of the dungeon if you die, with which we use 2 times later in the run for death warps to make it much faster. And so now this is Princess Emerald that's talking to us. She's letting us know that this is just a trial. And so these fights are pretty easy once you know them. And so we just need to hit Flash 3 times. Very easy fight. And with Umi's parents, they're going to be moving all over the place, and so we just wait for them to go into place and then do that. And we hit them for magic. Let's see, get 2 mana out there. And we'll need to hit her parents 4 times. And then next we'll go where Fu is fighting herself. Alright, good RNG. And then we'll heal ourselves to do more damage. So basically the whole goal is to not die and do as much damage as you can. And that was a really smooth fight for all 3 characters. Sometimes it's really easy to die as Fu, if you just attack one hit too many, you can kill yourself. And so now we've come here. Now we finally found what we were looking for, which is a scudo, which is going to be used to make our new weapons, so that we can actually get. Basically, they're not exactly living weapons, but they grow in strength with the user who wields it. So now we have the raw material, and Prissy is going to turn them into weapons for us, so that we can fight the forces of evil. So now we have to navigate back through the Forest of Silence from the way we came. So we have to follow the path exactly, otherwise we'll get caught in endless loops from how the forest is designed. And then after we get our weapons, we go to the first town, and then our first real dungeon. So on the way back, we're just going to be trying to run all the way through as best as we can. Ooh, almost hit that enemy. So far, good RNG from enemy placement. But the only nice thing is we don't have to go up and left again. We can just go straight down. So here we'll take the left path, because if we go down on the right path, it'll just be a dead end. Oof, almost made it out. So I'm switching characters because I'd rather that someone else gets hit than they die. Because if you die, it just wastes a few seconds while the death animation plays and you switch characters. So while the game's in English, all the voice acting is English, when you cast spells and things that aren't in voice-acted dialogue are still in Japanese. There's no real clear reason why they kept it that way, but maybe it's space constraints. So those fountains right there are healing fountains, but since we're going to get upgraded to an extra health and extra mana for each character, we don't have to worry about that. And after every boss fight, except for one, will be healed after the boss, so generally you don't have to worry about using the fountain except before boss fights. So now Prissy is going into her secret room to forge us our weapons, and during that time we'll have an intermission at Zagot's palace. With the foreboding music.
Zagot, my lord, please, forgive me. I underestimated their strength.
So Zagot's not a very forgiving guy.
I was
if you fail,
unprepared.
and
next time
it's basically the end of you.
Silence. There shall not be a next time, dear Alcyone.
What? Zagot, please! I'm begging you! Just give me one more chance! Master Zagot! Please! No!
So now Alcyone has been turned to stone, or turned into a gem rather. And now enters Ascot, another Zagot's underlings.
Was never suited to the task at hand. Zagot, there's still a chance to stop them. Send me, and I'll show them how we play.
And I don't know his age, but he's pretty young,
Ascot. Do not
comparatively to the other characters in the game. And so now we're back in Priscia's Manor, and now we get our weapons, which let us do charged attacks now, which is what our main source of damage will be for boss fights after we run out of magic attack. So now we're going to go to our first town, Polyzoo Village, which has been ravaged by monsters from a cave. Basically, they had a barrier erected to prevent monsters from coming out of the cave, but now the barrier is broken, and their town magician is not as good as people thought he was. So first thing we'll do in this village is go visit the town magician Lucino, who mentions how great and powerful he is, even though he's just a phony. So we're trying to avoid the center of that, around that fountain area, because it's really, really laggy in that spot. For whatever reason, there might be just too many sprites on the screen. So basically, we're going to be tasked by the mayor to go into the cave to defeat the monster that has been plaguing the village. And so we're going to offer up our help. And the only reason, the excuse that we're going is that we're looking for the 3 ancient machines that we're supposed to recover to help take down Zagot. So now we go into our first real dungeon, which is kind of like a tutorial dungeon, and basically it shows you basic mechanics of solving puzzles and moving stones for like switches and removing obstacles. And Lucino is going to do everything he can to stop us from fulfilling our duty of helping the town. So basically, he's just basically putting obstacles in front of us to make it more difficult to get to the end. So as one of the many switch puzzles in the game, there's different kinds. There's kinds that you just need to press them once and your door open, and there's kinds where you need to have all the buttons pressed. And then there's one switch puzzle where you can't have anything on them, which is just used to show off a new power we get. So as often as we can, we're going to try to get running speed just to move on a little bit faster. So that red thing down there is a chest, and there's 2 of them in this dungeon we'll be getting. And they're basically the only chests in this game we open. We get them because they each have 50 gems, and we want to get 100 gems for a mana potion for our boss fight later. Because going out of our way to get those gems and getting the potion is faster than doing the boss without that extra mana potion. Yeah. And it's a lot more consistent as well, because it's a very, not a difficult boss fight, but it can get risky really quickly. So now we're going to hit this switch so that we can jump across. And then we'll come across a fountain here, but it's been all drunken up by Lucino. And now he's just going to bounce off all full of water. So I'm going to get this health upgrade here and give it to Umi. Since she does our most damage, we want her to survive the longest. But that's the only one we get in the game, but it allows her to take an extra hit of damage. See, we're going to do a little skip here to jump across that. And then there's also several mana upgrades we're going to be getting for Fu, because we wanted to have 12 mana by a specific point in the game to skip some platforming. Basically, there will be a section where we have to go around some moving platforms, and it'll help us skip that by giving her the extra mana so that we can cast the specific spell she'll get later called Protective Wind, which just lets you to float over obstacles. Oh, I forgot to change. There we go. So that mirror we just talked to gave us Umi's only magic damage spell, which we use just to blow him away. But when we got across that chasm, we took a moving platform. So now I'm going to restore her mana for the boss fight. And this boss is very easy. Basically, we're just going to waste all our magic on the boss, and then finish it off with Umi's physical attacks. And this is the first boss of 2 where Fu's magic does the same damage as everyone else. Because she's generally meant as a support rather than a damage dealer. So normally we can't hit this boss when he's up in the air, walking around. We can only hit him when he slams down on the ground, but with magic we can hit him regardless of his position, as long as we see him on the screen. So when he moves quickly, it means that he's going to go up to this spot over here and drop those stars or whatever, and then he'll do a slam down. And then sometimes he'll do another one right after that, and sometimes he won't. It's just based on his current RNG. So instead of going down again, he's just going to do this. He's going to move quickly and do that again. And that was a pretty good fight. And we just hit him one more time when he's small, and then that's the end of the first dungeon. Let's see, I'm hearing a strange sound. I'm wondering if something happened. Nope, everything's good. It sounded like that it froze for a moment, but then it loaded the music for the town, so we're good. So this game does have a chance to crash. It's very rare that it happens, but I've made safety saves just in case, if it comes to that. So now Hikaru learned some valuable information. Basically, we decided to give Lucino the credit despite us doing all the work. And so we did a good deed, and he willingly accepted it even though he shouldn't have. So now we're going to go to our next town called Taflon by the Sea, where we're going to learn how to swim. But first there's a problem. Basically, the only guy that knows how to swim left town because he has crushing guilt. And I'll get into that in a moment. So basically, we can't cross the waters because of some whirlpools that are going on, and we have to fix that, of course. And the whirlpools are related to the first machine that we get. So now we're gonna go over here to the right because we have to talk to this guy who mentions Caltus. He's a local fisherman who knows who's a really good swimmer and teaches people how to swim. But we can't go up north yet without learning how to swim. Oh, that was bad. So now we're going to go to the item shop and buy that mana potion, because this is the most convenient time to do it since it's on the way of where we need to go. And so the shopkeeper does this little dance animation for whatever reason when we buy a potion. And so now we're gonna go talk to Sarah, who has a brand new pet named Jiminy, and it's a little dragon thing. So now we're gonna do fast travel to go back to Polyzoo to talk to Keltis, who's hiding out there, wallowing in guilt. Basically, Sarah had lost her old pet to drowning, and Keltis feels guilty for not saving her previous pet. But now she's gotten over it, got a new pet, and she's happy again. And Umi lays one out on Keltis for feeling sorry for himself. Because he won't teach us how to swim. So now we go back to Sarah and find Keltis there talking to her, realizing that she did really get on with her life, and that Keltis shouldn't feel sorry for himself for stuff that happened in the past. So now we're just going to spy on and eavesdrops on the conversation. And then Keltis notices that we're there as he's walking by. And he's like, hey, I'm going to teach you guys how to swim. And then Ascot comes in and is like, huh, Keltis might be useful. And that line like makes no sense. So now he just throws us in the water when we don't know how to swim. And he does a fancy dive into the pool. So now he's going to teach us how to swim so that we can cross the water ourselves. But Fu's having a bit trouble, so she's going to get a life preserver and use that to swim. And now we get our second mysterious lecture.
Lecture number 2. Hikaru and the others have mastered the skill known as Roaring Rapid Wave Cut.
Yes, in other words, the girls have learned how to swim like beavers.
Now they can journey to the ice cave on the island to the north.
By pressing the attack button while in the water, the girls swim forward. It's that easy.
Okay, that's it for now.
So the swim
We hope you
mechanic is
enjoyed
probably the
game.
only mechanic of the game that
kids.
wasn't well thought out. Basically, you have to mash the A button in order to swim. And the faster you mash, the faster you swim up to a certain point. But the point where it stops being faster is really, really fast. So now we can go into the water, but there's whirlpools everywhere. But we can use that to our advantage to swim faster. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you can, if you get caught properly, you can just move all the way across really quickly. So there's a specific path we want to follow to get to the dungeon, and we'll be going to the Eternal Ice Cave. So we want to go through these two whirlpools down here. And then down, and then up again, and then we'll be at the entrance to the ice cave. So now we're inside the ice cave, and we're going to do our best to try to avoid enemies. Because we don't want to take damage unless we absolutely have to. So we're gonna try to kill enemies up ahead to get mana back, because we need her at full mana to cast a spell later. And we got lucky here. Sometimes we don't get that mana drop. So by having that mana drop, it means that we don't have to farm any more enemies, and we can just go straight to what we need to do. So basically, I need her to cast one more of her current spell. I think it's like Fire Arrow. To access a mirror, which we get Flaming Shock, which we use to clear a puzzle for later. And Flaming Shock costs 3 mana, while Fire Arrow costs 2. So we're going to go down here to the right. Ooh. So those little ticks that move around, they don't hurt you, but they can get pretty annoying. And then we're going to clear these ice blocks to have access to the mirror. And then we'll learn our Flaming Shock spell. So we're going to switch to that, and we're going to use it as soon as we get to the room we need to be in. So I tried jumping into the waters just to get a little bit of extra momentum, because going in the water is slower than moving normally. So now I'm going to use Flaming Shock here to release the switches so that we can go to the next room. Oh, that was weird. I've never seen him just stay there. Okay, so now we're going to switch to Fu, because there's a switch we need to hit that only she can hit. And it's fine if these things hit us, because this is basically the last room where we take damage. So now we need to kill all the enemies in this room, and we're going to use Fu since she's already active. And she has an area-wide spell that only costs 2 mana. So it takes 2 casts to clear the room. And then one more block puzzle. Block/switch puzzle that we have to do. And sometimes the moving the pieces can be a little finicky. So basically with these ice blocks, when you move them in a direction, they'll keep going that way until they hit a wall or another object. So just by moving in that pattern, we can go straight to the next room. So I'm Fu here for a reason, because I want to have a rotation where it'll end up on Umi. Since she's going to be our main damage source after we clear our magic pools. So, while I said that Fu does the least damage, she still does enough damage for this fight that we can use her magic. But after the next boss fight, after this one, we don't anymore. Unless we have to. So basically this dragon below us is the first ancient machine that we have to revive. And its current temporary shape is the dragon. But it won't come to us unless we can prove our strength. And so now Sarah's new pet Jiminy is not what it seems. And is now transformed into a giant dragon. And has wrecked Sarah's house. And now we have to take on Jiminy. Who has turned into a giant beast. So now we're going to lure him over to the side over here where he can't hit us. So by standing over here on this side of the arena, he can't hit us anymore. So now we just wait for him to land on the ground so we can hit him with our physical attacks. Alright, very easy fight. Most of the boss fights in this game are fairly easy. There's a couple that have some heavy RNG. So now we can't bring ourselves to finish off Jiminy, but Jiminy dies anyways because he can't sustain that form. And now we're given a real talking to Ascot, making him feel bad for what he did. And so now there was a cutscene that we just skipped where Sarah is crying in Kaltus's arms. And he gives us some inspiring words of confidence to don't end up like him. And now Umi's machine will appear. And the dragon will transform into... Well, not transform, but it'll transform itself into energy and store itself on Umi's brooch. And the same will happen for the other two girls when we get their robots as well. And so now we're back at Zagot's palace. Where Ascot is now named a failure. And now enters Ascot's sister, Caldina, who defends him.
Caldina?
Saying give her a chance before you pass judgment on Ascot. And on that cutscene, Alcyon's crystal cage is starting to crack. So now we're back here. And now we're going to go through the water again, but now all the whirlpools are gone. So we can just go straight to the next town, Rosen. Now Rosen is plagued with being an internal winter. Basically, a volcano erupted and changed the environment. And the prophecy had said that the machines are in volcano, sea, and sky. So we're going to be meeting Caldina there, who has a belief that the machine is there. And has basically hypnotized the town into digging for her. Then we'll also be running into Ferio, who is seducing women, as it's perceived to be. So this is going to be a very laggy section because of all the NPCs clustered in one place. Up ahead. So I changed the Fu because she's slightly closer to where we need to go next after the cutscene here. So I run into Pharaoh, who is playing music for all these women. And all the women are pitching woo. And Fu gives them a good licking. So now we're going to go to the inn and stay for the night to advance the story. And wouldn't you know it, something strange is going on in the town. All of a sudden, all the people are leaving their houses, and they're going into a cave nearby. And here's Caldina heading them all in. Basically, she used hypnotic dances to lure the town or to put the town people under her control. And Umi is up late, seeing what's going on. And now the innkeeper is asking us to go take a look. So we're going to go investigate and find out that Caldina's behind the whole incident. So this dungeon can get pretty confusing for people who are unfamiliar to it, because there's a lot of places you can go. So now here we meet Ferio again, who finds out that he was only playing music to distract them from Caldina. So that they weren't falling under her, or falling into her hypnotic spell. So we're going to try to avoid every enemy we can. There's only one enemy that we were required to kill, only because by having it alive it prevents us from completing a puzzle. So we're going to go all the way up here, and then we're going to go to the left. There's several different directions you can go. One of them's a dead end, the others lead to other parts of the dungeon for different purposes. Like there's rainbow gems you can collect. I believe there's a health upgrade as well. So, but we want to go up here because we need to get the spell from this mirror for Umi. It is basically her water tornado. Or a blue tornado, not water tornado. And so now we're going to go to the end of the dungeon now that we have everything we need to complete it. So we're going to go up here, we're going to take this platform, which will just take us straight to where we need to go. But like one of the things of using these moving platforms is that you're stuck in it until you reach your destination. But luckily this will take us exactly where we need to go. See, change spells here. So there's a little bubble enemy up ahead that we're just gonna completely annihilate. Because if we don't kill it, it won't allow us to do the puzzle that we're gonna come up to. So I'm gonna get this Mon upgrade, gonna give it to Fu. And then we're gonna do her new blue tornado. Basically, if you don't kill that enemy, it'll take priority over dousing the flames. So now we're gonna go to our boss fight with Caldina, who was unsuccessfully mined for the ancient machine, which isn't here. So now Caldina's like pissed off that Ferio was ruining her plan. And even though Ferio participated in this fight, he doesn't do anything at all. So we're gonna waste all our magic we can. Ooh. Because we have to use Fu for our main source of damage, and she does the least amount of damage. Unfortunate. Okay, well that's fine. It's nice to get those extra 2 hits in, but it's not like it's required. So now we're just going to do as much damage as we can. Okay, so I killed Hikaru, it doesn't really matter. And just basically just using her as a damage buffer to keep Fu alive as long as possible. So Caldina should be dead in a hit or two. There we go. So now Caldina's been defeated and Ferrio's been proven his innocence. So now we're back in Zagot's palace, where we find out that Alcyone has escaped.
It seems my little pet Alcyone has vanished.
And that's like the whole point of that cutscene and nothing else. So I just like had to waste a minute of loading just for him to say that one line. So now we go back. Now we go back to talk to the innkeeper, who mentions a man named Rafarga, who might be able to help us get to the next village, because it's been blocked off by a rock because of the volcano eruption, or the pathway has been blocked off because of the volcano eruption. So now we're gonna go see Rafarga, who's gonna teach us, who's gonna try to teach us the, wow, the name's escaping me. But basically it'll allow us to, when we're running, to break through brittle rocks. And Rafarga's such a cool guy that he can walk outside in the middle of a blizzard wearing a tank top and pants. So he's going to give us a lesson to try to learn his pulverizing bash technique. But it seems the girl is just unable to do it. They just don't have enough strength. So Rafarga, being the nice guy he is, he's going to let us sleep in his bed for the night. But we find that he's not in his house at all. So Hikaru wakes up and looks for Rafarga to see where he is. So I moved slightly to the right just so that... Ooh, I wasn't far right enough. So we're going to find out that Rafarga used to be a guard for Princess Emerald, one of her personal bodyguards. And he feels guilty for being unable to save her. And now we have Umi screaming, and she's freaking out over a little bug that was in bed. And Hikaru realizes that she was able to perform the pulverizing bash. And now we get our third mysterious lecture.
Lecture number 3. You've just mastered the skill known as the pulverizing bash.
Indeed. By running to increase your speed, the power to throw yourselves increases as well.
So now we can break weak
or
rocks.
small cracks with incredible ease.
But be sure to give yourself plenty of room to run, so you can increase your speed.
And there's a few places where we use that in the run.
Approach, start running, and then boom!
That's all for today, kids. We'll let you get back to your game now. Have fun!
Remember,
Boom! So now we learn the Pulverizing Bash. Now we can go through the Crimson Underpass to get to the next town. So it's really easy to get running speed. They give you a lot of space for it. So now we can break that rock, and now we can go into the next mini dungeon. There's no boss here. It just serves as a gateway between towns. So this dungeon can get kind of rough in a couple of sections. There's one section that we're going to be damage boosting through, just so that we can get through it without having to deal with the onslaught of fireballs, which is upcoming. Next room. So we're just gonna run right through them, and it only hit us for twice. We're gonna switch to another character so that we can continue just going through. And the next room is probably the most trickiest because there's a lava pool right where we need to jump. Right up here, and we made it across, but not there. There we go. Sometimes jumps can be a little precise, and you're distant. You have to. Ooh. Okay, so that was not very good, but it's okay that she's dead. We still have two other characters to work with. So now we gotta break these brittle blocks to get through. So you're gonna heal up. And so healing wastes a little bit of time because you're just stuck there waiting for the heal to happen, but it's a lot safer than dying. Or a lot quicker than dying, because then you have to start it back at the beginning of the dungeon. So I switched to Hikaru because she can destroy all 4 blocks real quickly. But as far as upcoming parts, there's no character that it matters that we're at. Switch it up. Alright, and now we're basically through the dungeon. And now we go to IA, which is the next town. And turns out that it's on fire. Someone had set the town on fire. And we can't continue to the next town because the way out is also on fire. So even though Umi's dead, we can just go to this fountain and then she's all good again. So basically, now we have to go to this mansion to save a kid who got trapped. But in order to save him, we have to collect 3 keys to open the pathway to where the kid is trapped, which is on the top floor, I guess. So this used to be one of the more difficult parts of the run because of the boss fight, but with that mana potion we got earlier, the boss fight is very easy. Because it takes 15 hits to kill the boss, but with the potion we can get it down to 7 hits plus 2 magic spells. So we're going to go over here and try to avoid these mice as best as we can, because they blow up on your face. So now we got the blue key, which will allow us to go through blue doors now. So now we want to go through this blue door, and then we're going to go downstairs to get to the red key. And luckily you can jump over little bits of fire. Okay, outrun that rat. So now we have the red key, and now we can use the red key to get to the green key, and then once we have all 3 keys, we can go straight to the boss. Okay. So now that we have the red key, we can go through this door, and then we fall down here, which will let us into the room with the green key. Grab that. So now that we have all 3 keys, we can go straight to the boss. And for whatever reason, that wall crumbles when you use the key. Okay. So RNG is not being too kind with us right now. Luckily, they can't go any further. So for this fight, we're exclusively using Umi. She does the most damage to the boss. And Hikaru's magic can't damage the boss at all because the boss is basically pure fire. So basically, now we're in the room where the kid is trapped. But it turns out it was a ruse all along, and it was just Alcyone playing tricks on us to get us into this Inferno mansion. So now we have to fight 3 mini skulls, and we just take care of them with 2 magic spells. And then they'll turn into 1 big skull. And so we use our mana potion to get our mana back so we can do 2 more hits. And then it only takes 7 hits from here to kill it. Easy peasy. Before it took 15 hits, and it was a very risky fight because he can 2-shot the other characters except for Umi, which it 3-shots her. And based on the boss can have some very erratic movement if he's around for too long, and it makes it very difficult to hit him because he starts putting those little flames around, and which inhibits your movement. But that was a very, very clean fight.
Seems as if Alcyone has been denied success once more.
She not only departed without your permission, but lost to those 3 in your name. It is nothing short of a complete disgrace, my lord. I take full responsibility for her escape and her
So now Inova is willing to kill himself just to repent for her action.
Now, Inova. Just continue to monitor her activities.
As you wish.
Because she left on his watch. And now Ascot is questioning why he's with this group. After seeing the girls being the selfless people that they are. Now that the fire is put out, the town can rebuild, but we never see that. Ooh, kid's in the way. Kid we just saved is blocking our path. So now we go to the next town of Lyrie, where they have their own problems too. So basically in this area we're going to learn the instant dash, which will let us run on command, so we don't have to loop speed anymore, which makes movement a little bit easier. So now we're going to go into this hospital here, and we're going to talk to the head nurse, who tells us that the medicine that they normally get from the tree, they don't have a source for it anymore because the tree is basically dead. Is the leaves from this tree that can create a potion that can heal any sickness. So we've offered to go get the last leaf on the tree, which is way up at the top. And now enters Abner, who's the hotshot of the town, basically. And now he's trying to ask Umi on a date, and has challenged her to a race for a date, even though she didn't agree to the date part. So now she's going to try to show how fast she is with her chicken legs. And it finds out that she's really not that fast compared to these kids. And now Abner's going to show off and then say, he's like, hey, I'm ready for that date. So now we're going to go to the Tree of Life without learning the instant dash. Since Abner won't teach it to us. Okay, great. So now we need to line ourselves up here to be able to break the brittle wall up ahead. Because that's the only way you're going to get enough momentum to do so. Basically, if you like get moved by a wall or an object of any kind while you're trying to build up a dash, then you'll have to reset your movement. But once you have it, you keep it. You see another mana upgrade for Fu, and then there's one more we get for her, I believe. So now we go over here to the entrance of the Tree of Life to find that it's blocked off, and we don't have enough running speed to break it, even though technically we had the running speed on our way there. So now we're going to go talk to Abner to teach us the instant dash, but first we have to get back into running speed, because all the pathways have been blocked again. Let's see, come on. There we go. Sometimes it can be a little finicky getting back into the running. So now we go back the way we came and go all the way back to town to talk to Abner. And then we'll be going through here one more time to get to the actual dungeon after we learn the instant dash. Alright, so now we're back in town, and now we're going to go find Abner, who is on the way to the hospital. And then he'll talk about that since Umi won't go on a date with him, that he's just going to go and get the leaf himself to become the hero for Athena. But luckily, there's a nice little kid who'll teach us the instant dash. Although, we can't run like that little kid, but we can still run pretty fast. And then incoming will be our final mysterious lecture. Since this is the last thing we learn in the game.
Clef! And Precia's Mysterious Sepro Lecture number 4! Hikaru and the others have learned the technique known as the instant dash.
Yes, this skill allows the girls to sprint full speed without the need for a running start. To use it, simply press your dash button and then begin running as you let
What's interesting is that while they mention that you use your dash button, they don't tell you which button it is.
When paired with the pulverizing bash.
Yes,
my assumption is that they assume that you refer to the manual.
Now you can lay out the
Since the game nowhere tells you what the dash button is.
Possible to do so.
Oh, sure. Now she's using my lines.
Anyway, we'll I'll let you get back to your game now. Have fun.
So long, everyone.
Alright, now we can just run on command and make the movement a lot faster. And we'll be using it extensively in the upcoming dungeons and the rest of the game. Alright, so now we run through this maze again. But this will be the last time we'll be here. So this is probably one of the longest dungeons in the game. There's a lot of, well, not a lot, not the longest, sorry, one of the more difficult dungeons in the game because it's a very a tight maze. It's really easy to go around in circles, just trying to figure out your way around. Oof. Alrighty, so basically there's these brittle blocks we can break. Or the brittle walls that we break. And we use and we just go right through. Let's see, switch to Fu. It's basically these little crab things that only Fu can kill normally, at least quickly. So we have to talk to Ascot, but we only talk to him after we go all the way up here, and it was basically there's another flower we have to pop open to open up a path for later. So now enters Ascot again, but this time he's masquerading as a kid named Abner, and to try to understand why we do the things we do, because he doesn't understand what it's like to be selfless. So now we're going to clear these enemies just to make it a lot easier to pass through. Then we go down. Then we go to the left and down again. Then I'll go up. Then we go around and up again. And up one more time. And that's probably one of the more tricky parts of the game because you can get turned around really easily. And that flower we bloomed earlier is that path we just crossed. Without opening that flower, we would not be able to get across. And here's another mana upgrade for Fu. And it's the last one we collect for her. So now we're going to go over here. To clear this room, we want to get a health potion from here. Which we'll be using in the next fight. Basically, health potions in this game restore your health to full and your mana to full, and they revive any dead characters. We're going to use it for the mana to restore our mana to full because in the upcoming boss fight, there's basically 3 enemies we have to kill, and one of them we have to damage as quickly as possible before we switch to another enemy. Basically, it functions like we do, where one person is active, but there's 3 characters. And I'll get into that when we get there. Okay, and then we hear Abner in the distance behind this wall, and Alto is going to help us, as he's called now. And find out that Alcyone is there to stop us from getting the leaf we need. So this upcoming fight is very unique. Alcyone is the only only boss in the game where she takes the most damage from physical attacks. Magic does half damage to her, but we're still going to be using magic in this fight. basically there's 3 enemies. There's Alcyone, there's a butterfly, and a scorpion. The butterfly heals, the scorpion deals damage, and Alcyone casts spells. The butterfly is the most annoying because it has a heal that heals about 3 of your charged attacks. And so, like, as soon as she switches to the butterfly, we have to damage it so that it doesn't get a heal off. Oof. So, goal is to try to kill Alcyone as fast as possible, since she's the biggest threat. So I'm gonna do magic to try to prevent the butterfly from healing. So basically, I tried to lure the scorpion to try to attack me, but not actually hit me, because that'll break his invincibility frames. That's the only time. No. Okay, so you got to heal off. That's fine. So it's fine that I take damage as long as I'm hitting the scorpion. Alright. So now the butterfly's dead, and I can just use the rest of my magic on the scorpion. Very, very smooth fight. Butterfly only got 1 heal off. Like I said, the butterfly heals a lot of heals a lot of health. Like 3 charged hit is a lot of health. So now we got the leaf. And now we're gonna go back to see, and now we're gonna go into a cutscene with Zagat again. Actually, yeah.
Ascot, what's the meaning of this?
And now he's asking Caldina why Ascot is with the girls.
Well, in order to figure out the girls' weaknesses, I'm, spying on them.
And now she's making up a story that Ascot is spying on them for her.
Lie? Why, Innova, I'm shocked and hurt that you would even think such a dreadful thing.
Don't trouble yourself, Innova. If she is shading the truth, I shall soon know it.
As you desire, my lord.
Now Caldina is seriously worried for Ascot's life.
Get us killed? Spying?
And now Alcyone comes in.
Is that so?
What? Who's there?
I'm not so certain. If I didn't know better, I'd say Ascot looked like he was enjoying himself.
Alcyone! Don't be ridiculous. Ascot's not a traitor. He'd never do such a thing. And besides, what about you? You've got some nerve showing your sorry face around here. Huh. If I just happened to tell Zagat about your little visit, it's the end of your party for sure.
Perhaps, but I don't think now is the best time for you to go running to Zagat either.
Enough! I could do without your sarcasm right now.
Why are you treating me as an adversary? Can't you see we're in this together, friend?
Together? You make me sick. Don't insult my intelligence, you scheming hag.
Now, Caldina. No need to rip a scene. You see, I've quite a scoop for you.
Oh, really? I'm all ears.
If we head off the Magic Knight wannabes at their next stop...
So now Caldina and Alcyone are going to work together for a plan to capture the girls.
Got it!
Or rather, kill them. But Alcyone has her own ulterior motive. Basically, she wants Zagot all to herself, so she's doing everything she can to make that happen. Don't forget, there's a donation war going on for this game. Basically, if the $5 donation is met, 4 cutscenes will be playing the rest of the cutscenes in the game, and there's some real good ones coming up. So now we're gonna go to the next town, but before that we have to take a waterfall pass, or pass by the waterfall rather. And Alto says he wants to join us because he enjoys our company so much. So now we're going to Lakatek Falls. We'll be hit by a trap by Caldina and Alcyone. And so there's this massive rock in the way of the bridge, of the way we need to go. And Ascot, posing as Alto, is going to show off his power. Says, like, this rock is nothing, ladies. I got this. So now as we cross the bridge, we come into a trap laid by Caldina and Alcyone. And now there's no bridge left. So now we're in the Waterfall Secret Path, which is one of the more annoying dungeons of the game. It's not hard, but there's a couple of puzzles that are kind of obnoxious. And I'll mention them when I get to it. So most of it is just basic, puts heavy objects over the switches. And then we have these rolling balls which keep them roaming in the direction until they hit a wall. So we have to put blocks in front of switches to be able to stop them from moving. And as you see, the puzzles they're not hard, but they're interesting enough. So here we just go from left, up, bottom, and right. And that allows us to open this door. And then here we need to push this brittle block over the wet switch and then break it to be able to pass through. Ooh, pushed it a little far. And then I went the wrong way. It's It's fine though. So now we need to put these blocks over these 3 switches. And there we go. Now we're just going to avoid all these enemies as best as we can. And now we need to hit that enemy to break that switch, or to land on that switch. Whoops. So it's fine that we take damage here. We just need to pass through. And wow, he walked right on the switch for us. Normally you have to hit him to get him on that switch. But he decided to be a real nice guy. Whoops. Okay, and that's the most annoying room. Because sometimes you'll just get bad luck and he won't land on the switch right when you need him to. So I'm going to heal here, just because I took a little extra damage. So now we're going to try to lure him over here, which is where we want him. And now we hit him on the switch. So in this next room, there's an invisible enemy that we have to kill. But luckily, he's always right in front of us. And he's harmless, he doesn't do any damage. So now we just need to hit this switch and then go through the door. Let's see, and then we switch to Hikaru to light that torch, then we switch to Umi to put it out. So now here we'll learn Umi's final spell, Ice Arrows, which can destroy indestructible enemies, which are those skeleton dragon things. And we'll need that for the next room, to destroy 2 of them to open the door. And so that only leaves 2 spells left to learn in this game. Next spell we'll learn is Protective Wind, which we use a couple of times. It's not a terribly useful spell, but it's useful when the times we need it. So now we go all the way to the other side of this maze to hit the other switch. So now we just go through this maze once more to get to the exit, where we'll be using Ice Arrow. And this will be the spell we'll be using mostly for Umi from here on out. It does the same damage as the previous spell we learned on her, but with the added benefit of having a slightly faster cast time. So we'll just go through this barrage of arrows, and we'll grab this potion here, which we'll be using on the next boss fight just to kill a lot quicker. So there's a lot of hidden walls in here that you can only see when you hit them. Let's see, there we go. And then we just have to navigate around to hit this switch, and gets us into this room, which has the other potion we want. Basically, we'll be using both the health and mana potion. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Whoops. So this room can be a little bit tricky. Okay, in the final room, we have to kill all the enemies in here, so we just do a magic until they're all dead. Because since we can't see them, it's a lot easier just to do AoE magic to kill them. And that's the end of the dungeon. Alright, now we run into Caldina, who was waiting for us at the end of the dungeon. And we reveal that Alto is actually Ascot, who has been harassing us early on in the game. then Escott has a change of heart and doesn't believe that Zagot is right. And now Alcyone comes in and tries to get Ascot in trouble. Now Ascot dies, basically protecting the girls. And now she's in a murderous rage and wants to kill us. But luckily, just by grabbing those potions, it makes this fight a lot easier. We don't have to rely on being able to hit her with our physical attack. And sometimes this game has a little quirk where the spell will fizzle, where it just won't cast through or anything. And it can be detrimental if it happens at a bad time. So basically, every few hits, she'll change the room. Ooh, I used the spell a little early. So that means I'm going to have to do a physical attack. Which is fine, one physical attack isn't so bad. Actually, no, we don't need to do that physical attack. Alright, we're good. So basically, this cutscene we're skipping, Caldina is really pissed off and her brother is now dead. And then Inova comes in and kills Caldina. So people around us are quickly dying. While we're here trying to save the world, people are dying because of our actions. So now we enter another cutscene with Zagot, who's praising Inova for his action.
Bravo, Inova. Now let's see what you're capable of, shall we?
Yes, my lord. Consider it done.
And a new player enters the battlefield. So now we're through the waterfall, and we can go on to the next town, which is called Liquido. And so basically a giant monster has been ravaging this village, but not in a way that is damaging. It's just basically causing a lot of earthquakes because of its massive size and when it moves. And so now we're going to talk to this little kid Nero, who's pissed off about the monster and wants revenge for breaking his mom's arm because something fell on her. And the nice innkeeper is going to let us stay for the night. Which is also the father of the kid. So now we'll hear the rumblings of the giant beast walking. waking the girls up from their slumber. And now Nero's going to go confront the beast. And we have to go save him. So now we need to get 2 medallions. We need to get the Sunrise Medallion and the Twilight Medallion. And there's basically 2 parts to this dungeon. And after we each get a medallion, we're going to do a death warp just to go back to the entrance of the dungeon. It's a lot faster than walking all the way back. So we're going to take damage along the way with trying to get as low as possible without dying. Because the enemies in this dungeon hurt for a lot. Like those wolves 2-shot you and 3-shot Umi. Okay. So we're just gonna run through everything. Let's see, I want to get hit by that. And there's this tree right here that if you hit it, it spawns fleas. So we're just gonna damage boost right through it, so that we don't have to fight it. Okay. I can kill myself later. So basically if I die before getting the medallion, I have to go through it all again, and that would not be ideal. Okay, everybody's down to 1 health. I'd prefer if a couple people were dead, but that's fine. Because now there's no more enemies at this point where we can just get the medallion. And luckily there's like enemies here that we can kill ourselves on. So now we kill ourselves and they'll spawn us right back at the beginning of the dungeon. And we just exit and go to the other half. So now we're going to go into the western half of the forest, or this dungeon, which is a lot more difficult. Basically, there's a lot more enemies, and it's a lot longer, and it's a lot riskier to move through. Wow, usually those things wreck me. That's the first time they haven't. So normally those wolves take damage from them, but I managed to somehow slip past them. So we're gonna grab this chest. For mana potion, and then there's one more chest we get in here. And we're gonna just damage through this flea tree. And get the health potion. We're gonna use these 2 potions much later in the run. Come on, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna damage boost through there. Perfect. Usually I have to take the fountain. There's a fountain that I use to heal up so that I don't die. But this was actually beautiful. So now I'm gonna kill myself. And now we're going to be back at the entrance, and then we can use both medallions to fight the boss. Now this boss fight is really easy. There's no gimmicks to him or anything. It's just hit him when he doesn't have invincibility frames. So now we put down both medallions, and we find out the island isn't really an island, because it was just perceived as a moving island. But when we put down the medallions, all the forest and the greenery on the back of this giant turtle is gone. And somehow he has an arrow. So we're just going to use up all our magic first, and then do charge attacks to kill the rest of them. Okay, very easy fight. So now we find out that the turtle isn't so bad. The reason he was causing damage to the town is he was just trying to scrape the shrubbery off his back. He didn't mean to cause harm. And now that we saved Nero, this turtle's gonna take us to the next area we need to go to, since we're going to a town that's in the sky. So next we'll be going to Aria, the Sky Village. At least I think that's how it's pronounced. It's hard to tell because it's like A-U-R-I-A. Araria, maybe. So we get a nice little cutscene there of the turtle flying us up, and apparently it sounds like an airplane. Or rather a jet engine. So now we're in Aria. We find out that where we need to go next is the Heaven's Labyrinth, which is currently sealed by a gate, which the mayor has a key to, but he's not letting anybody go in. So we're gonna go see the mayor and ask him for the key to Heaven's Labyrinth. And he won't let us see the great symbol that's locked away, and he's just gonna throw us out. So now we're gonna go to the inn and sleep on it and come back tomorrow to ask him again, thinking maybe he'll change his mind. And now the key is missing, so he thinks we stole it, even though we came here to ask him for it. So now he's gonna throw us down in the dungeon below and lock us away. Because for whatever his logic is, he thinks we stole the key. And now we're locked away in the dungeon down below, where there's conveniently 3 beds. So I'm purposely as Fu here because she's closest to the gate when we exit the dungeon. Basically, she knows how to pick the lock because it's very primitive. And she's closest to the exit. So I'm her just to save like maybe half a second. So now we're going to play a little stealth game to try to get to the room where the key is hidden to find out who the real culprit is. So basically we just have to avoid the line of sight of these guards and we make it through. Basically if you get caught by the guard it wastes about a minute. And so far so good. That's definitely one of the trickier parts to get past quickly. So now we just wait for this guard to turn around and then we follow him, wait for the other guard to pass, and then we run past. And now we go on to the second floor. Now that guard going there vertical, he looks left when he first walks down, so we have to avoid that. And then we'll wait right here. There's a guard that's going to pass by, and he sees through the wall there. And now we'll wait down here, wait for him to cross over again, so we can go past him. And now there's just 2 more guards to pass. So basically we're going to wait for this guy to go all the way across and start walking back. And then we'll go hiding up here. And if you notice, there's another guard up top. So now we just wait for this guy to cross over again, and then we hug the wall so we avoid the line of sight of that guard up top. And now we also need to be Fu here, because she's the only one that sees the clue on how the culprit escaped and got in. And finds out that he got in and out through the chimney. And then here we find Ferrio's flute. So now we're going to go confront Ferio, who happens to be in town. Only to find out he's with some mysterious woman who looks suspiciously like Alcyone. So now we're going to go talk to Rafarga, who is somehow here as well and has put on his battle armor. Because he has rekindled his desire to fight again. So now we're going to play a little cutscene here of waiting to see who has the key. Because eventually the culprit's going to come to the scene, come here to open the gate. And so it's just going to be a few NPCs walking by, doing their thing. And then here comes Ferio, looking all mischievous, or suspicious, sorry, and opens the gate with this mysterious woman. And now we're worried that Ferio really isn't the man he says he is. So now we're in Heaven's Labyrinth, where we learn Fu's final magic protective wind. So it's a very difficult dungeon to navigate if you're new to the if you're the first time playing this game, because there's a lot of paths you can take. But luckily for me, I've memorized this path. So basically there's just a few switches that we're going to hit to make some platforms move. We have to do it with Fu for one of them. For two of them, actually, because she's the only one with the range to hit them. And as long as we don't attack those enemies, they won't throw their boomerangs at us. So now we just go across. Okay. And it doesn't really matter if we make that cycle or not, it's just kind of like a swag cycle to get, because there's a later cycle that we're going to have to wait for regardless if we hit that cycle or not. Let's see, so I'm going to switch to Hikaru here, because I want to kill that enemy that's there. Because if you get knocked off on a moving platform, you go back to the less stable platform you're on, and I'd rather kill him than take that chance of missing this cycle, because it's a very slow cycle. So upcoming is going to be a room with 4 pink birds that we have to kill in order to open the path to the next area. These birds are very dangerous. They two-shot any of your characters. Like, they do 6 points of damage. So, but 2 of these magic spells kill them real quickly. So now here we have another set of moving platforms. And then we can't go south yet, because we need the Protective Wind spell to float across. So now that we've activated that southern platform where we can get on it, and it'll allow us to go to the island in the middle. And so all the mana we were collecting earlier was so that we can cast this spell twice without running out of mana, because it costs 6 mana cost, and right now she has 12. While you're in the Protected Wind state, you can't cast magic, you can't change characters, you can't instant dash. So you're just stuck. You're stuck just moving around while it's up. But you're invulnerable while it's up as well. So that's like the rest of the enemies in the level. Now we're just going to go to the boss area. And the upcoming boss is the second time in the game where Fu's magic does the same damage as everyone else. And it's the last as well. It's the last time that we'll be using her magic for damage purposes. And this boss is extremely easy. You can just kill him before you even run out of magic. He's that easy. And here we find out that Fario is under mind control. And we also find out that Rafarga is under mind control also, but by Zagot instead of Alcyone, which is a much stronger mind control that can't be broken. Rafarga resists the mind control and he ends up walking off the cliff to his death. And Alcyone, being the kind of gal she is, summons a giant bird to fight us. So luckily I heard the sound effect, but Hikaru's magic lasts so long that sometimes you can get 2 hits off from the invincibility frames. And I did. So that makes the fight a little bit quicker. So I want to stand close to the center because the bird will only land in areas where you're at. So basically, if I'm on the edge, then he'll land farther off on the edge. So Alcyone will come in and do whatever this is. That doesn't seem to do anything. Just causes him to flicker. And that kills him. Very, very easy boss. Let's see... The next boss is a little bit of difficulty. There's some RNG variants because he has invincibility frames when he does a specific attack. And here we get the second ancient machine, which is for Fu, named Wyndham. Or Wyndham, or something like that. Yeah, Wyndham. So now we have 2 of the 3 ancient machines. And the last one will be found in a volcano, as that's said in the beginning of the game. The last one's name is Rayearth, which is also in the title of the game.
Fortitude of Rafarga. His will was much stronger than we had anticipated. How do you wish to address this situation, dear Lord?
Equip your
and now Inova's finally going to go mobilize into action.
I shall do exactly as you desire, my liege.
Now we can exit through this this floating platform here, which will take us to our next destination, the Whispering Woods. And now we find Rafarga here, lying in bed, having lost his memory. And this old guy who found him mentions about the medicine at the Tree of Life. So now we're going to go back to Lyrie to get the medicine to restore Rafarga's memory. So using fast travel, we can just get there in a jiffy. So now we're going to go talk to Athena, who has the potion that we require. Oh yeah, and something I forgot to mention earlier, when we got the leaf, we gave it to Abner to give to Athena because he has a crush on her. And Athena has realized that it was us who actually got it. But she still is enjoying Abner, and for some reason I walked outside when I didn't have to. I always get caught up in doing that. That's fine. Because we can just fast travel all the way back to the Whispering Woods to give Rafarga his medicine. And it's amazing. He had a great fall from the sky, and the only thing that happened to him was he lost his memory. But now Rafarga's head is in a lot of pain from the mind control that he previously had put on him. And now here we find Nova and Rafarga ready to fight again. And now Alcyone comes into the fray as well, where she tries to take down Rafarga, and then Rafarga reflects her attack, and now she is wounded, which was in the cutscene we skipped. And now we have to take down Rafarga. So Rafarga has two attacks that he does. He has a magic cast, like that, and a swiping attack. During the magic cast, he has invincibility frames, which just is something you have to deal with. There we go. So far he's being pretty kind by using the swiping attack, which he has no invincibility frames on. So after a certain amount of damage, his armor turns red, which is basically showing that he's in critical health. Alright, very, very good fight. So now Rafarga's asking us to kill him because he can't resist the mind control anymore. And Nova ends up doing the task for the girls. So now we give Rafarga a proper burial. And now there's some rumbling in the distance. And there's a volcano erupting, which is our next destination. And Hikaru is feeling the draw to it that the next machine is there. And it's also where Hikaru's final power is, which is very, very strong. So now we're going back to Polyzoo, where the entrance to the volcano is. So Hikaru will get a power called Flash, which is through the aid of her dog, who somehow wants to help her, even though he's not there. And it costs 10 mana to cast, so you only get one cast per mana bar. but it kills any boss in 3 hits, regardless of how much HP the boss has. That's how much damage it does. So those 2 potions that we got earlier, we're going to be using them for 2 boss fights later. There's 3 boss fights left before the final phase of the game. And for this next boss fight, we'll be fighting Alcyone again. And then we'll be fighting Innova and Zagat. So here we see Flash goes into the mirror and vanishes. And Clef talks about that Flash just wants to help you as any way he can. So now we get Hikaru's final spell, which is going to be of great use. But it's also very, very laggy. So now we're going to navigate this dungeon. It's a very, very straightforward dungeon. So now we're just going to wait on some platforms. And luckily we don't have to wait for too long. Okay. So some differences between the English and Japanese version. A lot of the enemies move differently. They tend to move slower in the Japanese version. Overall, the game is just easier. Let's see. Ow. Okay. So I'm just gonna float over it instead of doing the platforming because the enemy's being a jerk. So this means that for the next section I have to wait on a platform instead of just going over. Ah, I didn't have the right momentum, so I didn't make that jump. Okay, there we go. So we just need to get to that teleporter up there. And then one more teleporter to get to. And then we're just going to skip all these platforms here that we normally have to cross. And it'll let us just get straight to the boss. So there's just one more section left. We basically have to run forward and then run back a little bit. So we can keep our momentum. And in the Japanese version, those enemies move slow enough that you can just keep running all the way through. You don't have to do that motion. So now we're gonna go into this room where we find Hikaru, where we find the final machine, Rayearth, and we also find Alcyone waiting for us, bleeding to death. And she's really pissed off because she loves Zagat, but Zagat has fallen in love with Princess Emerald, and had imprisoned Princess Emerald because he loved her. And Alcyone went along with all this because she thought that she could make Zagat fall for her. So this is one of the more difficult fights in the game. Alcyone has very erratic movement, and sometimes she can just hold off on the side of the screen. And you're limited to like moving on these platforms. I don't know if that'll hit. It did. Awesome. Oof. Let's see, come on, where are you? Wow, she's just staying off the screen. Luckily, Umi has, like, huge range now. So I'm going to heal Umi because I want to keep her alive. She does the most damage. She has great range. So Alcyone does this attack, and every time she does it, she always lands somewhere up top. And I did not anticipate that properly. Alright, mostly clean fight. So now Alcyone is dead. The only people left in Zagot's group is Unova and Zagot himself. And soon we'll be able to rescue the princess. So now we have all three machines. Now we can go take on Zagot's palace. Basically, the point of collecting these three machines was to disrupt the barrier that protects Zagot's palace. And by summoning the three machines at the same time, it'll generate enough magic that will disrupt the barrier and allow us to shatter it. But before that, we have to deal with Unova.
Master Zagot, I implore you, return me to my original form. The power of the Magic Knights can no longer be ignored. It is my duty to destroy them before they become powerful enough to threaten you. But to accomplish that, I must abandon this frail
And then we find out that Unova isn't actually human. He was actually a great beast that served as a guardian for Princess Emerald's palace. So now Zagot's going to allow him to transform back into the beast that he was to take us down. And we'll find out what a wimp he actually is when we get to him. So now we're going back to Precia's manor. Because she has the pathway to she has the gateway to where we need to go. So you notice after this fight, this is the only fight in the game that we don't get our health and mana back. So we can just use this fountain here, and we'll be all set. And so now she mentions that by summoning the robots, it'll disrupt the barrier long enough for the palace, for Zagot's palace to become visible for us to attack and infiltrate. So now we're going to head to the Cape of Legend, which is the area where we first entered Sephiroth. And we'll find Clef still as a stone statue. And somehow he's still able to communicate to us even though he's made of stone. And here we have Unova transforming back into his beast form. And now we have to defeat him in his all-powerful beastie form. And this is an extremely easy fight. Basically, we're gonna use one of the potions we got to cast Flash twice, and then do Umi's spell 3 times, and he'll be dead. Alrighty, so now we're just waiting on invincibility frames to deal our damage. Oof. Alright, and that's the end of that fight. Easy peasy. And now we go back to the Cape of Legend, where we can summon our robots to infiltrate the palace. And so basically he's just asking us if we're done in Sephiroth, because after this point there is no turning back. This is basically the last stand. And so now we summon our giant robots with all the magic power that we've nurtured throughout the course of our adventure. And so these 3 cutscenes we just skipped. The first one was summoning the robots. The second one was entering our robots, and the third one is the actual assault on the palace. And so now we've made it into Zagot's palace, and now we can take on Zagot. And so with Zagot, when he moves around, he has invincibility frames. Or rather, when he has an aura glow around him, he has invincibility frames, and he'll stop to attack, and then he won't have invincibility frames until the attack's over. But like whenever he moves, he'll stop for a moment. So this is very, very laggy because of everything that's going on at once. Okay, looking good so far. Okay, very good fight. I missed a couple of chances of getting attacks in, but perfectly fine. So now Zagot's going to summon his robot, the Heaven's Spiral. And now we're going to go... Now the last 2 fights, this fight and the next fight, is going to be in a shoot-'em-up light kind of stage. So we're going to be fighting in our robots now. So each character has their own way of attacking. So now instead of Umi being the strongest, Hikaru is the strongest now. So we're going to be using her after we expend our magic attack, because magic does the most damage still. Oof. So basically I just want to avoid getting hit so I can survive as long as I can. Oof. And I'm not doing a very good job of that. So now we're taking down his shield, so now we can do the damage to him. So that swipe, we want to avoid that swipe. That swipe does a lot of damage. But at this point, no matter what, Hikaru will die from a hit. Basically just want to stay away from him. Oof. So now we're switched to Fu, who does the second most damage. And luckily, it's really easy to hit Zagot with her. But the damage difference is pretty huge. It takes 20 hits to kill with Hikaru, and 30 with Fu, and 32 with Umi. So now we're just going to spam the A button for the rest of the fight. And try to avoid Zaygot's attacks. Oh, that was bad. Oh well. Whoa. Okay, so this is dangerous right now. Yeah, I plan to announce it. Oh my goodness, this is actually pretty bad. So like I said, game over. No risk, or there's no risk for dying, but it makes it a little bit harder, or a little bit longer. But like I said, that's fine. So this fight is it's a difficult fight. It's hard, but it's not the hardest. But it's just because he does a lot of damage. And sometimes you can get bad RNG patterns. So again, we just open up with magic. And he really favors the bees. So let's try to be a bit more careful. And you can see how good I am at being careful. Well, we just keep safe, stay out of his way, and we'll be fine. No reason to take it fast. All we can do is just try our best to avoid him. So like I said, the Japanese version is much easier. He does a lot less damage to you. His swipes are a lot less threatening in general, and just overall it's an easier game. But it's much slower. So this time he's being fairly kind, not spawning a bunch of bees. So like whenever he prepares an attack, he has invincibility frames. Okay, so we should be dead soon, then we'll go on to the final fight. Ooh, that would have been bad. He was about to do another swipe again, but luckily I was able to hit him in between frames. There we go. Now we go on to the final fight of the game. So now Zagot is dead, and Clef is free from his spell of stone. And now he's like telling us that only the Magic Knights can save the princess, but the characters don't fully understand what's going on. And now here we finally meet the princess for the first time. And she's free from her bonds. And she's rightfully mad that you killed Zagot, because that was the one she loved the most.
Because...
And Zagot locked Emerald away for her own safety because her love for Zagot was wavering her ability to protect the world. And now she's so distraught with grief that she's going to destroy you and the whole world with it. So now her robot is so powerful that there's nothing we can do against it. It just wipes us out. But luckily, with the help of Makona, that little white furball that we get in the beginning, we can fuse the 3 robots together into one super robot to take on Emerald. And she's much easier now that we're fused together. And she's a very easy fight. She has, her patterns are always the same. She starts out with the same move. She goes in the same order. Everything is always the same. So, you get this one spell, you get to use it once in the fight. And I use it here to have some invincibility frames so I can continue to attack while those orbs pop out. Because when you get hit, you can't attack. Ooh, and I got hit. And so basically you just want to destroy her body parts. So the only spell that's like really dangerous after you kill the shoulder orbs is the lightning bolts. And you can dodge those real easily if you know they're coming. So basically, even if you attack her body straight, it's still going to destroy the body parts before you destroy her, because that's part of her HP. But once you destroy all her body parts, then her head starts to rotate. But luckily you can just be out of this range. And time will be coming up soon. Well, on the last hit of Emerald, I'll call it. So be prepared for that. Time. And now we have saved the world.
Excellent work, fair Magic Knights.
But Clef, have we really done the right thing? I mean...
Don't despair, for you see, the outcome is exactly as Emerald had planned. And at last, your destiny is fulfilled.
Princess Emerald!
Hikaru, Umi, and Fu, you have fulfilled all that was asked of you. Remember this, no matter where you go, the strength of your mind and spirit is the most powerful magic of all.
So now the girls get transported back to Tokyo Tower where they were before, like nothing ever happened. Alright, 2:44:53. That's not bad. It's about 6 minutes away from my world record time. It was a really good run. I'm very happy with it. Thank you so much, everybody.